Hello and welcome to the channel. So I've got this Blackstar HT50 Mark II back on the bench because we're going to bias this amp. Remember, it was a bit of a boo-boo that I made on this. We couldn't find the any adjustment for the bias, and I had a bit of a look online and it actually said that there wasn't any on these models. But someone messaged me on the channel who's got a Club 40 and said there's two little holes on the chassis at the top. So I went back, looked at the video footage, and sure enough there was. So thank you to the person who left that comment. So I've had it back and I'm going to bias it up because remember the tubes were 4 watts out of balance and the amp sounds okay, but we're going to bias it up anyway. Looking actually over the top, it's gained a beer stain since I last saw it, which it was only about 10-12 days ago. It's got a beer stain there. So not that I drink beer, in fact I don't drink anything alcoholic, but anyway, I'll get the meter on it and test the resistance of it. I think lager comes in at 300 ohms, whatever lager is. So yes, enough of that waffling anyway. So we're going to get this out the case and I'm going to bias it up. Now it's going to be a bit of a pain, this one, because with the bias settings being on top, the adjustments being on top, it's not going to be easy to get some probes on it underneath. But I'm sure we'll manage. You're bored of looking at that beer stain now, aren't you? So we'll crack it open and we'll get it all set up and get it biased. Right, so we've got this having a look. That's Beard, my other cat, wanting to go out. Yes, go on, clear off Beard. Let's got rid of Beard. So we've got two little presets there. I've also noticed that we've got some LEDs as well. So I don't know whether they're fault LEDs that show fault or whether they show the bias. I've even noticed those, you know, when we was on it before. It's also really annoying because that tube's creating a shadow under the lights and I can't actually, yes, that's it. So yes, we have got LEDs there. There is some writing in there. We'll have a look, see what it says, shall we? I tested the beer stain, by the way, and it had no resistance, so it can't be very good beer. Not that I know much about beer, I don't know anything about beer. So it just says red and green. It says 5k and 20k, that's all I can see there, but that, I'd imagine, is the pots. Right, so we've got, and I've put some insulation around this screwdriver because I'm always dubious about going through chassis, adjusting things. So if I turn that one does nothing on the LEDs. If we turn this one, the red light comes on. I don't know whether you can see that or not. You might not be able to see it because the screwdriver is just going a bit more. If you turn it that way, the green light comes on. If you turn it all the way to the end, the green light comes on. So those aren't telling us very much. And the fact that this one is out altogether. So now if I unplug the jack socket, the green LED comes on this side faintly. So let's adjust. Yeah. So when the FET's engaged, that goes out. So we're not sure on those what they actually mean or what they're doing on there. So we need to get some probes underneath this so we can measure it somehow, and it's not going to be easy. So we may have to stand this on its end and bias it, which I don't particularly like doing either, but still. Right, it's awkward to get the camera round now because I'm sat down front of it, I've got the amp stood up on its end. I've managed to get these probes onto the spikes that they're sticking out of the socket on the tubes. They've left a bit of extra length on those, and I've just managed to get that on there. The center tap down here is, I've just pushed the pins on the probes down the insulation and they're connected. Right, so I've got these the amp fired up now, and you can see the volts drop on each side that we're measuring there. And you can see we've got 1.8 on here and 2, and they don't seem so far out now, but I have had a bit of a twiddle with these presets. I'm just going to turn this one, see what happens. Not a lot. Oh, that's gone down to 1.9, 1.6. So is that the bias, the top one? Looks like it is. Yes, so that top one, it looks like the bias adjustment. Put that in the center. And the other one, is that the balance? That preset's right next to the tube. Keep catching my thumb on there. Burnt myself last time. Right. Yep, so we can see those balancing up now. Will the pot run out? It depends on the tubes. Still going. Just about there. Yep, and that's just about there. So those are balanced now. But so let's see what current draw we've got now. So let's just do some maths and just see what we've got going on there. I think as the tubes have just warmed up a bit more, so they're a bit out of so let's see. So let's start with the green meter. And I've actually written these down to the meter because I can't really do left or right with it stood on its end, so as I normally do. So the green meter is about 66.5 ohms, and we've got a volts drop of 1.96, I'd say. 1.96 divided by 66.5. We have 29 milliamps there, which is not a lot, is it? 29 milliamps. So let's check the blue one. That's 2 volts. Divide by 69.5. That's 28.7 milliamps. So they are close. We've got 29 and 28.7. So I'd say they're pretty close. They're just, I think they're just a bit cold. So let's just, I'm just going to put some different glasses on to get in there, because it really is tight to get in and get a reading. So I'm just going to try and get in and get a reading of the HT voltage, which you can't see. 476 we've got plate volts. 476. 476. So that's 13.6 on the blue meter. 13.69 watts, we call that, yeah, 13.7. And then the other one is 13.5. Well, they match now, aren't they? They were 4 watts out before. So, but they're cold, but they matched. A little hotter than that, I think. So let's get the screwdriver in there again. And let's turn it up, see if that, does that increase it? Yep. Let's go up to about 2.5 5. Ah, though the bias, the trim pots ran out. Funnily enough, we've got these ruby tubes in there again. Are all these ruby tubes low current? Now the preset's gone slightly out again, but only very slightly, which always happens when you adjust the bias. So what I'm going to do now, so now what's happened is I've got the red lights on, the red LEDs on, because I've turned the bias up. We've also got one of the red LEDs on. There, is that there? The red one's coming there. So the red LED is on. On the balance now, on the balance pot. So what's going on there? So they're balanced, but now the red LED is on. So is that because these tubes are badly mismatched? So now the green LED is on the bias, and we've got 2.3, 2.4 now. So let's just tweak that again now, bring that. You see, the problem is the trim pots ran out on there. You can see the balance is off. So those tubes are very, very out of balance. So if I set it to where the LED is off, there, LED is off, that puts them not too far out. If we turn them anymore, we get the red lights on. So that's obviously telling us that it's not set correctly. So let's test it again. Let's do the maths again now. 2.1 on the green meter, divide by 66.5 equals 31.5 milliamps now. So it's pretty clear now that this bias adjustment thing on here is not going to set these tubes at 70%, and that is no surprise because I don't set them at 70% even on the shunt method, because of these transformers getting too hot. Or I've done that on previous Blackstars anyway, not this model. So 31.5 we've got there. Now let's just hone in on that plate voltage again and see where we're at with it. 475. 15 watts, and that's as much as we're going to get out of these tubes, which is fine. That's roughly around about, I always set them 50, between 14 and 16, so that's 15 watts on the nose. 15 watts. So let's check the other side. 2.4. Don't start swearing at me. That's what I don't like about these beasters. They swear at me and then they go off. So 2.4 divided by 69.5 is 34 milliamps, times 475 is 16.4. 1.4 watts out, which is acceptable. The chances are they probably are 4 watts out in, you know, they probably mismatched by 4 watts. We've adjusted some of it off, but if we adjust too much, the red light says no, and we'd better go with the red LEDs. So we've also, if you turn the bias too far, the red light comes on. So I think that's as close as we're going to get those tubes. But that's okay. That's a lot better than it was before, because there were 4 watts out. The green LEDs are on, and not the red ones. And with 1.4 watts, that'll do. That's plenty good enough. See, now you can see what we're actually doing in here. So if you've got some of these, I'll just show you. I've just got some in this pack here. Oh no, I've got one there, but that's negative. So if you've got some of these, this is what I've used. And you can see what they do. They open and they close. You've got to be very careful, and on those you've got to find the plate on there on those two sockets, and you can see there it's going in, see there? And you've got to get those to fit onto those probes, and it's not easy. But if you've got some of those, so what you do is you have one of these probes on one lead of the meter, and I've got one on each tube there, hence why we've got 2 meters. Then if we come down to here, the brown wire there, you just go around because there's stuff everywhere, you can just get in. The brown wire there, you can see the 2 probes sticking out. I've just pushed those down the insulation, and the insulation will hold them tight, and that's the other probes for each of the meters, and that's measuring the voltage drop across the windings of the transformer. So you know, if you're going to do this, you do this at your own risk, but this is not easy. But if you don't have the bias probes and you want to bias it, alternatively, if you've got a matched set of tubes in this amp and you know they're brand new, then all you've got to do is, what I would do then is I would turn the balance pot until it goes red, and then turn it back till it goes green, and then I would do the same with the bias. That would be pretty simple. That's obviously how those LEDs work. But in the case of these tubes, that's not going to work because these tubes are already out of balance. I think those tubes have been put in this amp from another amp, because I don't think these have ruby tubes in them from new. So I'm guessing they've probably come out of another amp, or someone's bought them as not a matched set. Funny that second set of ruby tubes, we've got those in that fender, and they weren't sparkling either. That's why they got removed. So that's how we've done that. Now, when the amp's switched off, you put your meters on ohms, and you'll get an ohms reading across each side of the transformer. So you write that down, and then you switch it on. You need a jacks plug into it, by the way, or you won't get any plate voltage on there, so you have to put that in. And then you write down the voltage drops on each meter. You try and balance them up with a balance pot, as I've done, and we didn't get them quite right. We did get them matched, but the red LED was on, so that's why I've put them at the where the LED goes green, and the closest match is 1.4 watts, because we don't know what damage it's doing to it. That LED goes red, it says no, so you have to go with it. So then you just measure your plate voltage, and I used a 3rd meter to do that. And basically I just grounded one end on the chassis, and you can see the meters up there, and then the other one I just went into the probe. I'm not going to do it while I'm holding the camera because it can't be secure enough. And then you just see whatever comes up on there. We had 475. We've got our 3 readings, so we've got the impedance readings of each side of the transformer, we've got the volts drop each side of the transformer, we've got both meters so we could balance it, and then you just do the maths on it. So you just take your voltage drop, divide it by your resistance, and then times it by the plate voltage, and that'll give you your bias for each side. Right, so what I thought I'd do with this demo, and instead of seeing my ugly fizzog, we'd have a look at the amp. Now, we did this with that Laney that we had, to Laney 15 watt amp, which I was quite impressed with the sound. So I thought we'd just have a look at this, look at some of the controls and how this amp works, as well as having a listen to it. So we've got this clean channel over here, and this channel has an extra voicing as well. So we've just got volume, treble and bass, nice and simple. So click the voice in. Get a much more warm, softer tone, which I have to say I prefer from the just like the other voice. Very harsh and brittle, that one, so I do like that. Reverb's halfway up there. those 13s didn't sound quite right there. So that's basically the clean channel. Let's just turn the master down and crank this clean channel up. Let's excuse this chair, it's squeaking a bit. Some of my students that come are quite hefty masters, and this chair's taking its toll. So that is just clipping a little bit there. Ooh, wow. Wowee, that's difficult to... So that's, that doesn't break up very nicely, does it? So I think that is the clean channel, and is better off clean. So let's look at this overdrive channel here. So if we click in there, ooh, and that's why did I think this amp had got 3 channels? It's only got 2. We've got quite a lot of gain there. Let's change that voice in. And again, that's a much softer. Welter of notes. So I like that. Not so keen on that. And then if we go on to the one I do like, and then on this EQ setting here, we've got this ISF. It's a bit noisy now because I'm sat close to it. We've got this ISF a little flat. Rusty. So we've got the mid control, usual deal, and usually if you leave that about halfway in on this amp, not too much bass on the overdrive. Now I've also got this 50 watt and 5 watt switch. So if we click that in, amp's gotten quite a bit quick, not as loud. The amp's got quite a bit not as loud. That doesn't make sense, does it? It's late. Right, so we'll turn that up a bit more. A bit more on the master. It's a nice overdrive tone. For me, some of the amps we've had on the channel, the Fender 22 we had, the overdrive was phenomenal on that, and the Laney, was that a Ironheart 15, that rack mount amp, that was phenomenal overdrive. This one's good, very good, but I think the others just pip it. Let's just drop the gain down now so it's lower. Yeah. So we've only got a bit of gain now, and we'll turn that. Put a bit more bass in. Take a bit more out. So does it clean up? Let's have a look if it... Not really. But then it is the overdrive channel. The old humbucker, the Seymour Duncan Jazz, is driving it even harder, because I've got a single coil on this bridge of this Les Paul. There we go, that's the overdrive channel. We'll go back to the clean channel. I'm just going to flick it off that 5-watt switch, bring a bit more of this mastering. Let's hammer this reverb to full tilt, madam. So it just cut off the reverb rather harshly there. So you can't really carry any chord voicings on in the reverb. So the reverb's okay if you're just using it as just a normal reverb, but it's not very versatile. Reverb on that, again on that Lady Ironheart 15 we looked at, incredible. Really nice. So that'll do it. There we go. So there's a bit of a bias experiment video there, just to try and find out how that bias preset thing works, and with the LEDs and everything. It's late at night, it keeps me out of mischief, and we've had a good listen to the amp and look at the controls and things on that. So that'll do it for this one. So thanks for watching, and you all take good care, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye for now.